This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Sunday, June 16th, 2024. Clash at the Castle has concluded, and yes, I know we're a little bit late on it, and my apologies. But we're here, and we're ready to discuss Clash, which obviously, as we all know, emanated from Glasgow, Scotland, and a weird event from a few respects. I really don't know how to feel about it. Weird in that the crowd was annoying, but not as obnoxious as Leon France was. When I say annoying, I guess it's kind of a compliment because they're loud. But I also appreciated the crowd at the same time. I thought that they were much more focused on what was going on in the ring instead of their own chants that they just do religiously at every sporting event, regardless of what's going on in the ring. It felt very much more like they're reacting to what's going on in the ring. There were moments in which I was annoyed by their chants, and I was sitting there going, I have no clue what they're saying, and they're singing their songs that they always sing, and it's just, if you don't understand the accent, right? I know it was in English, but a lot of it was just heavy accents, and you're just like, I don't know what they're saying, and it's annoying. But I also appreciate the energy. So again, I wanted to get the crowd out of the way. You know what? I thought they added a lot to some of the matches. Some of the matches I think would have suffered greatly without the crowd. So overall, I'm appreciative. Okay, that's ultimately what I land on for the Glasgow crowd is I'm appreciative of them. All right, so I was kind of waffling there, like, well, which way is he landing? Is he annoyed with us? Did he like us? Overall, I appreciate the energy. I think it helped the show. As far as some of the booking goes, it was weird, man. Now I know the full stories haven't been played out for some of these, and I'll just start with Drew McIntyre, okay? Because Drew McIntyre and Punk and all of that, I was very strongly on the side of that they won't have the guts to bring in Punk, that they just won't do it because it's going to turn him heel. But WWE and in their infinite wisdom decided to bring in Punk as in a mock referee role. At the end, there's a ref bump. McIntyre hits the second Claymore on Priest. And, they had a clever camera angle behind the referee who was counting 1, 2. And then within a few moments, you knew who it was without even panning the camera around. And it was Punk who only counted 2. Now, if he had counted the 3, by the way, would WWE have registered that as an actual victory? I mean, because he had a referee shirt on, but was he anointed as an actual referee or was he just playing a referee? It was kind of interesting. Like, I'm not sure how they were doing that, but that's kind of beside the point because Punk here, after McIntyre was frustrated with him and he started to, put his hands on Punk, that's when Punk decided to kick McIntyre in the nuts and shove his face in the ground, which ultimately resulted in Damian Priest hitting the South of Heaven chokeslam, and 1, 2, 3, Damian Priest retains. I have conflicting thoughts about this. On one hand, I applaud WWE for having the balls to bring in Punk in a scenario in which he's going to get booed no matter what he does, and then also doubling down by not having him come in to try to get cheered, but rather kicking somebody in the nuts, costing them the championship match. So it's kind of like they said, well, screw it, guys. Punk, you're going to get booed no matter what we try to do. So let's just not try to get cheered and just do something that's going to anger the crowd even more and just go with the flow. So maybe that's their plan, but also, is this actually a Punk heel turn? And I don't mean that in the respect that, it's Scotland, he's going to get booed. And I mean, he kicked McIntyre in the nuts, cost him the match, for really no good reason, because it's not as if McIntyre had attacked Punk before this. Their physicality obviously has not really even begun yet. It's just been a more war of words. Punk already also cost McIntyre at WrestleMania. In that case, McIntyre is a bit more responsible, but a shot to the nuts is also a little different. And the way that Punk shoved his face to the ground, you take these same actions, you place it in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, you place it in Tampa, Florida, okay, you place it in Omaha, Nebraska, you place it in Washington, D.C., L.A., Dallas, Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado. My point of that is, does it matter where this happened? Because would Punk have been designed to get booed? Did they do this to get Punk booed, turning him heel? Or did they do this knowing, screw it, the Glasgow crowd is going to hate me anyway, let's just make them hate me even more? It's just, I don't think it's a Punk heel turn, but boy, does it look like one. So again, take those actions, remove them from Scotland because it's Drew's home country, and place it in a random United States city. And do we have a Punk heel turn on our hands? I think that's how we have to look at this. Instead of them just playing up to the crowd in Scotland, should we look at this through the lens of, okay, regardless of location, is this a heel turn? I don't know. I still say no, but there's reason to maybe think it is. There's at least a discussion to be had that this is a heel turn, which from what otherwise was a very good match, by the way, really enjoyed Punk and McIntyre, or rather Punk and McIntyre, McIntyre and Priest. I think they did a phenomenal job. I think that they closed the show brilliantly. That Priest has really started to come into his own. And, I think that this has been a overachieving run for Priest. WWE is even making that a part of the story, that Priest has been looked at as a transitional champion, and that he's not going to hold on to it for long. And the internet community has kind of felt that way, that it should be time, I think, for Drew to take the championship. And he didn't. And Priest has shown he feels like a real champion. He does. Love it or hate it. Could he improve in some areas? Sure he could. He could improve on the mic, although he's very respectable. Could he improve in the ring? Yeah. And I don't really care about the botch. I know people are making a big deal about it. There was another match on the card that we'll get to next, which we all know obviously is the women's tag team match, and we'll talk about that next. Like I said, but the spot with Priest, it was in no way, when I've heard people talk about this, in no way is this a planned spot with Priest and his ankle. You never would plan something like that, because it's way too dangerous. It is way too dangerous to try to make that a spot by design in the match. Why? Why put yourself at that kind of risk? I've seen knee injuries feigned. We've seen that before. We've seen shoulder injuries feigned, in the match as part of the story. This is something you put all of your body weight to twist your ankle in the top rope. There's no chance that's planned. So I think they did a really nice job. The announcers did a really nice job of making that a part of the story. Priest was shaking it off, and I don't know if that was real pain he was shaking off. I would imagine it was, but it played in very nicely with the match, and he sold it very well, even if, maybe he didn't have to sell it because he was actually in pain. So it was more real pain coming through, but it's good to see that he at least was able to continue the match and safely continue the match. And I'm not worried about the botch. It is what it is. It happens. So, the finish is also kind of suspect, because I feel for Drew, and I've said this for so long now. I felt for Drew back in, what was it, WrestleMania 36, where he wrestled in front of no one, beat Brock Lesnar in front of no one in an empty warehouse. He won at WrestleMania for 5 minutes, so it doesn't really count. And he lost in Clash of the Castle, was it last year, against Roman Reigns because of Solo Sikoa. And now he loses again here because of Punk. I mean, this guy can't catch a break. I genuinely feel for him. I'd love to ask Drew McIntyre or Drew Galloway, bro, like, I understand that this is a story that, you're continually getting screwed. You can't get your moment. But at some point, doesn't this actually anger you on a real personal level? Not storyline, not Drew McIntyre, but like on a real level, on a human being level. Does this not piss you off? I mean, does this not anger you? Like, guys, can I just get a moment here? So from that perspective, on a real level, I feel for the guy. I do. I mean, it's just like this guy can't catch a break, and he's done so much for the company. He's been such a constant, a rock, whatever you want to call him. And he's been, especially over the last 6 to 12 months, he has been otherworldly. He's been one of the shining lights of Monday Night Raw. And he obviously carried the company during the pandemic era. And we just can't reward him with a victory. That's a real one. Give him a proper world title run. Now, I know maybe they don't want Punk involved in the world title because they have no plans for Punk to win it. So therefore, it's just going to be about a grudge. And that's fine. I don't have an issue. I don't need Punk as world champion. I don't want Punk actually as world champion. He's a older talent that the company cannot rely on because he's simply older. It's not about Punk for the future. He would likely break down quickly, and that's just the way it is because he's older. A lot of mileage on the body. But Drew cannot catch a break. So that was kind of from a human being level, frustrating to see. But I also understand it because I do feel that Damian has done a really, really good job as champion. And we're going to continue to see that play out on Monday night. And you know what? Here's another positive. If you're looking for a positive, really, there's no negative here, really big negative from a storyline, not human being, but a storyline perspective, because both guys are strong candidates to win the match. And there was really no big loser here, obviously, unless you're from Scotland, and people from Scotland were, crying. I saw some people in the crowd literally like just shocked and about to cry that Drew didn't win. But, I'm very interested to see what Drew does on Monday Night Raw. I mean, as Michael Cole announced at the end of the show, that McIntyre is going to absolutely lose it, and Monday Night Raw is going to be must-see TV. He's right. It's exactly what I was thinking. Monday Night Raw with Drew, who has hated Punk from the get-go, who got screwed in a way by Punk at WrestleMania, now gets screwed blatantly by Punk with a low blow at at Clash at the Castle in Scotland in front of his family, in front of his friends. I mean, he's already got a hairpin trigger anyway for Punk. What's he going to do now? And also, what's the crowd going to do? How do they react? I would still think that they're siding with Drew, but does any of this carry over? Does any of this heel behavior carry over into the States? You wonder. It's going to be a very interesting day at the office, so to speak, with that story. And how do they play it out? And also, who is Damian's next challenger? I don't think it's going to be Punk and McIntyre and a triple threat with Damian. I would think that they're moving on to someone else. So, is Seth Rollins close to coming back? We haven't heard a whole lot from him. Is Seth Rollins close to coming back, where he's going to be the one to challenge Damian at Money in the Bank? And is it Toronto? I think it is. I think it's Toronto on July 6th. I think it is. I think it's July 6th. So another quick turnaround. Just a couple of weeks. We're back to another PLE. Rapid fire, here we go. So perhaps it is a Punk Drew matchup at Money in the Bank, or they could go the triple threat road and lay that down one more time. But it seems like things are now being paired off, right? Punk and McIntyre seem like they're on their own trajectory now, and Damian is unchallenged, which again could lead to a Seth Rollins return, maybe, or a totally new opponent. So Monday Night Raw is truly what Michael Cole said. I think it's going to be must-see TV. But yeah, so I don't know what you guys think. Let me know what you think about this McIntyre deal. I know a lot of people were disappointed. I know, especially if you're in Scotland, you're saying to yourself, what? I bet you those who didn't go, I know a few of you who have emailed me who said you weren't going. I bet you're not sad you didn't go. I mean, really, to see that for your hometown hero to not win again. I mean, I just, yeah, you're probably not sad you didn't go from that respect. So, hey. All right. Let's go on to the match that has a lot of people talking to, but not in a great way. And that is the women's tag team title match with Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus the tag team champions of, at the time, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. And this match, I had higher expectations for this. And let me just say off the bat that these 6 women gave a very high level of effort. It wasn't due to laziness. It wasn't due to, their lack of motivation. All right. I didn't see any kind of like lackadaisical things or, anything that had to do with their actual, their work ethic, so to speak. Okay. But yeah, the botches were plentiful, plentiful. And often it was, there were even botches I don't think that were as obvious as to some people, but maybe I'm just being a little bit, a little bit overestimating my own eyeballs. There was a drop kick, I think, done from, I don't know who it was. It was a drop kick done on Shayna Baszler, or Shayna was giving one, and they gave an angle where it just looked horrible. I mean, it was terrible. It might have been, I don't remember who the women involved were, but there was a drop kick done with the camera angle that caught it that was the most awful looking drop kick I've seen in a while. Where it was just like, clearly it was like they didn't even come close and the person dropped. Obviously with Jade Cargill, and her botches, it was not a clean match. Jade slipping on the ropes. The ropes are sweaty, okay? But the women don't sweat nearly as much as the men do. All right? And yeah, sure, they did go after AJ and Cody Rhodes, but they wiped down everything between matches. They changed the canvas between matches. All right? And the women don't sweat nearly as much as the men, so I don't want to say it's not slippery, but it's unlikely it was as slippery as they say. But, it happens. Botches happen. Slips happen. It's not an easy sport at all. But, yeah, that was a bad spot for Jade. The slipping on the ropes. And the announcers did the best they could to cover for her. And that's their job, of course. Instead of just saying, oh, wow, terrible botch, guys. Wow. Right? They can't say that. So they did the best they could to cover for her. And they did. And it just was not a smooth matchup. And obviously we have new women's tag team champions that are Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, the Unholy Alliance or Unholy Union, whatever they are calling themselves. And big pop from the crowd. Obviously they're from Scotland. I had forgotten that. So that certainly helps out their crowd reaction. And no better place to do it. I mean, if this happened in anywhere else, the crowd would have been pretty silent. I think when it came to this, they would have been like, huh? So good place to pull the trigger when it comes to, giving Alba Fire and Isla Dawn the tag team titles if you're going to do it. I actually was dead wrong on this. I was for sure thinking that they were going to be Bianca and Jade were going to hold the belts for much, much longer, at least through SummerSlam, maybe next year's WrestleMania. I mean, or at least towards the end of the year, setting up a Bianca and Jade matchup at WrestleMania. But boy, they're pulling the trigger much faster. And this may not lead to a Jade Bianca matchup, by the way. They could still regain the belts, have their rematch. They still could. It's not impossible. We maybe still get another run, but it wouldn't make sense given that they just dropped it, and they dropped it for a reason. So again, it may not be Jade and Bianca, a signal that we're going to have a matchup between these two, because honestly, I don't think Jade's ready. I just don't. Like, Bianca is a premier athlete. Maybe the best wrestler the women, overall package that the women have in the company. Jade is still a work in progress. She looks like $1 million, but she wrestles at $100,000. If you get the analogy, right? And that's not to say she can't improve. She has improved, I think, from the beginning, but less relying on how she looks and more relying on okay, give us the product, give us your in-ring ability, show us what you can do. And obviously this is not a good night for those that are advocates of Jade to see these botches. It's not a good sign, but she didn't hurt anybody as far as I know. Okay. And maybe they're just ready to go off and do singles competition, and they're not going to be adversaries after this loss. I don't need a Jade. I don't want a Jade and Bianca matchup until Jade's ready. I don't want to rush it. It won't be good for anyone. Okay, and Bianca can only cover so much for Jade mishaps in the ring. So I expect Jade to improve. She clearly is putting in the work on her body. There's no question about that. And she goes from short silver hair to long hair to mid hair. She's changing up her look, which is fine. My preference is longer hair. That's just my personal preference. I like the longer hair. But I think as far as the prospects of a Jade Bianca match, I really don't see it right now because it's clear that she's not ready. That's all. I think time will be her best friend. But Alba Fire and Isla Dawn winning here. I did miss the fact that Alba Fire's mother, by the way, was killed a few weeks ago when she was struck by a car visiting her in Florida. I learned this after the fact, and I don't think this had an effect on WWE giving her the belt. I don't know, but I doubt it. Either way, Alba Fire, who many of us have just started to come to know, tough stuff. I mean, my God, horrible. But all right, well, so let's see here. We go to then Sami Zayn and Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship, and this one is a bit of a head scratcher, okay? Because I think a lot of us expected Gable to be the one to finally win, and I know, again, you could have made an argument both ways. Sammy to win, Gable to win. Both of them make sense. But at the same time, Gable has been a perpetual loser of Intercontinental title matchups. And he just simply can't get the job done when it comes to the IC belt. And yet he's never been better. He's never been more relevant. He's never been hotter. And he still can't capture the belt, and I felt it might have been time. But I also advise people to stay the hell away from this match when it comes to putting money on the line, because this one you could make a very strong case for both. Chad, I feel like, is a much more interesting character. He's the one that actually people wanted, as I've said this in my preview show. He's the one that people wanted to face Gunther at WrestleMania. So there's a little bit of resentment, I think, from fans there. And also, again, Chad is just a more interesting character. Sammy is like, I don't know. I like Sami Zayn. I do, from a character perspective. His personal views on things I'm not fully on board with, but from a character perspective, I think he's easy to like. I think that he's very good in the. I don't think we all know he's very good in the ring. That's stating the obvious. But his character is kind of flat right now, and it's been flat. It's not like, oh, he won at WrestleMania, and you've been asking for him to win at WrestleMania. No, most people actually were saying, no, it should be Chad. And I still feel that way. And Chad continues to lose here. But again, kind of like with the Drew loss, you're thinking, my God, what is Chad going to do to both Maxine and Otis on Raw? So there is that. And if you saw the look on Chad's face, which he did a very nice job of emoting, you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, what is Chad going to do to his pupils? What kind of humiliating ritual is he going to make them do? Otis continues to tease turning on Gable. He came to the aid of Maxine after Chad accidentally decided to hit Maxine's bad leg. And, I think that's, some people are going to look at it as, oh, he meant to do that. I don't think he did. And, Otis came to the ring, kind of the damsel in distress. It reminded me a little bit of the Mandy Rose Otis situation a bit. Obviously a different storyline there for sure. But I think that you have Otis here who's conflicted and continues to be conflicted, and the announcers are going with the Stockholm Syndrome analogy. But I continue to say it. I think we're at the end of the rope here. Like, eventually people are going to lose respect for Otis. I mean, how much humiliation can you endure on national television? How much can your ego take before, and also how much more teasing can the fans take of, oh, Otis is going to finally snap. Oh, he's going to do it here. Oh, he's going to, and before the fans go, you know what? I don't even care. Don't care. The fans will lose interest if they keep, down this road. They're not there yet. Obviously, you hear the crowd reaction. This is just being drawn out a little bit, maybe too long. And maybe the payoff will be really, really good. But I don't know. I think that you have Sammy now, who is also in a bit of a reset for opponents for his IC title, because it seems like it might be a Otis versus Chad Gable Money in the Bank or SummerSlam matchup with those two. They could go that road, and maybe Otis is in the both Otis and Chad are in the latter match. I mean, I don't know. But here's the thing. They got to figure things out in quick order. What is it? Quick order? What do I want to say? It's tall order? I don't know. I can't find the words. They got to figure it out quickly because they don't have a whole lot of TV time before the next PLE. So there's going to be Money in the Bank qualifying matches. You can bank on that over the next several weeks. And, it's just going to be interesting to see how they play this all out. Maxine's playing her role well. She's obviously a very attractive woman. That doesn't hurt her, but she's also, more importantly, a sympathetic character to the fans, with what she's been doing with Otis. So it's, again, it's going to be must-see TV Monday, because also, what is Chad going to do? You're wondering, you're waiting. What's he going to do? Is Otis finally going to snap on him? And he's Otis, Chad, is absolutely going to lay the responsibility of his defeat at the feet of Otis and Maxine. And that's going to be fun to watch. So, but again, Sammy is kind of boring. He's just kind of there. And I hate to say it for a talent like Sammy, but his character development has been stagnant for a while. And as I've said, he screams in every single promo he does. He just can't talk normally on the mic when he's out in front of the crowd. Everything has to be 1,000% passion all the time. And it's too much for me. It's too much. I know that a lot of you love Sami Zayn. And again, from a character perspective, he's likable, but Chad is a much more interesting character right now and has been for a while. This isn't just like, oh, hot hand, hot potato, fickle fans. No, the fans have wanted Chad for quite some time. So Anyway, I enjoyed the match, though. Match quality. I mean, what did you expect from these two, for the love of God? I mean, a wrestling clinic. A wrestling clinic from both Chad and from Sami Zayn, obviously. And, both Otis and Maxine refusing to take advantage of situations also will anger Chad Gable as well. So, all right. Good match. Really good match. Let's talk about Bayley and Piper Niven. Chelsea Green, obviously, there in her schoolgirl outfit. Here's what I think at this point. I think Chelsea Green is angry with fans like myself, not me specifically, although if she's angry with me, I could care less than nothing. But I think she's angry or upset with the fans that my viewpoint would represent. Okay, I don't lead the fans. Okay, I'm not pretending to be the leader of any kind of movement. But if my viewpoint were to be opposed, this is how Chelsea Green would oppose it. Because a lot of fans have been off-put by her outfits, with people saying that, stop wearing, we don't appreciate you wearing such sexualized outfits and things like that. You guys have heard my viewpoint on that many times, and it's angered some of you, and it, for whatever reason, because I simply want women's wrestling to move forward. It's angered some people. And Chelsea Green responded to fans who feel similarly over the last several months. And I think this is kind of kind of trying to shove it in the face of those kinds of fans with wearing schoolgirl outfits. I mean, is this 2002 with Stacy Keibler and, Scott Steiner again? Like, what is this? Sorry. If you're in a schoolgirl outfit and you're above the age of 10, or rather, if it's not for the purpose, I shouldn't put a number on it. If it's not for the purpose of actually what your school uniform is, okay, and it's not for actual function, it's not a requirement, then it's simply for novelty. It's to get attention. It's for, we all know what schoolgirl outfits represent. We all know what they are for, right? A lot of the time. Let's be serious. So, taking out the fact that it's not an actual uniform for a female, when it's used for other reasons, it's only for that reason. So Chelsea Green clearly here is pushing back at the fans who have that viewpoint, because their outfits have gotten more outlandish in that respect, more sexualized. Let's just call it like it is. So, and I like Chelsea Green from a character perspective. I do. I think that she has added a lot more to herself, and than I ever thought she could, with especially her Royal Rumble appearance. I thought it was hilarious. I enjoyed her very much in the Royal Rumble. Among a lot of other promos that she's done, she's played her character very well. Her being introduced as Chelsea Green, all that's fun. But, when you just make yourself kind of this superficial eye candy, you cap yourself. Here's the funny part. Those who believe that she can wear what she wants and she should show off her body are actually creating a ceiling for themselves. While they'll scream and cry that they have a ceiling being put above them, some kind of imaginary glass ceiling or whatever analogy you want to use, that others are putting it there. She's putting it there herself, because she's saying, I want you to see me in this light. I want that kind of attention. But then when you give me that attention, I'm going to call you a sexist or a pig or a chauvinist or you're whatever, right? So I think that's what's going on here. And don't say I'm reading too much into it. I don't think I am. You guys pay attention to this stuff on X. There's some of that stuff going on. A lot of it. So anyway, the match, though, let's get back to the important stuff here. Piper Niven and Bayley, I think, did as good as you can do. As good as you can possibly do for the size difference, the style difference. Piper being from Scotland, which I also forgot to. I forgot how much Scotland has given us, so I thank you, Scotland. Obviously was the hero of this match. I don't think the crowd really knew what to do with Bayley, because they don't want to boo her, but she's not from Scotland, so they're going to kind of give her a mixed neutral reaction. Even her entrance was kind of quiet because the crowd are like, I don't know what to do here. I don't want to boo you, Bayley, but we love our homegirl. So the crowd was just kind of conflicted. But they had, again, I know some people weren't excited about this matchup. I think they did as good of a job as you can do. And the finishing maneuver was awesome. The finish was something that was executed very well. And it was a crucifix pin, or crucifix driver, rather, in 13 minutes that ended up being the finish of the match. So, for both of them not really working together that much, I really enjoyed this. Bayley, again, is kind of in the Sami Zayn boat. Not particularly interesting right now. And Bayley could use a shot in the arm for something in her character or storyline wise. But I thought it was well done. As good as it possibly could have been. Yes, Chelsea Green, outside of her outfits and everything else I just talked about, came back in a mask after being kicked out of the match. And that was fine too. Playing a little bit of, playing games on the outside. So, all right. Let's continue with, I think, the only match we have left, which is, let's see here, the first match that happened, Styles and Rhodes. I Quit match that lasted 27 minutes. 27. Wild, right? Physical. Cody getting busted open. Cody's mom being there, which I actually don't like. Sorry. I know she tries to play her part well. She just like she's some kind of like, AI out there just doing the same movements over and over. It was like she was told, hey, just do this, and then that's all she did. But look, she's not a wrestler. It just looked like, I don't know, it wasn't my thing. Then she ends up calling, AJ an a-hole, which we heard on camera, and she gave a couple of weak slaps to AJ. And yet we're told how tough this woman is, right? AJ brings a chair out. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I would have loved to have seen AJ hit his mom with a chair after she slapped him. You guys can't tell me you wouldn't have loved that on a sick, deep level. What would Cody have done, right? What would have been done? What would the crowd reaction have been? But you knew it wasn't going to happen, right? And maybe back in the Attitude Era, that's something like that could happen. Even during the ruthless aggression, there's a case to be made for it. You're never going to see that here. But it was something I was kind of sitting there going, that'd be freaking great. But anyway, I don't know. His mom doesn't do anything for me. I could care less about what she says, what she does, the emotional tie to it. I don't care. But the matchup was as advertised. Was it a little long? Yes. But were the bumps awesome? Was the psychology really good? Is there chemistry between AJ and Cody? Absolutely. Yes to all of those. Cody also, after the match, while AJ did say I quit, and we knew there was no chance Cody was going to say it ever, zero. The way AJ lost, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he suddenly turned soft. But you know what? Like, it's probably the best way AJ could have lost. He didn't do it after he was beaten down. He did it to, for self-preservation. So fine. He's had himself in the corner. Cody had the steel steps, and, he said, I quit before Cody threw the stairs at him. But more importantly, like, what was interesting to me, Cody still threw the steps at him. Mr. Upstanding, Mr. Moral Compass, Mr. Signing, everything and making sure that he's, the everyman and, he's the common man, all this crap that he does that I think it's half performative, half actually himself. It was an interesting kind of contrast to everything he's stood for over the last 12 months, where he's been very soft, where he wanted to shake the hand of Roman Reigns, who, screwed him out of a championship opportunity at WrestleMania 39. Now, Mr. Smile Everywhere backstage, Mr. Bring My Dog to Work Day, Mr. Suit and tie and bleach blonde hair, and everything is just so like that was an interesting move, and I can't say I'm not complaining about it. By the way, it's actually something I enjoyed. It was an interesting little wrinkle to his character that he was able to say even after the match was over, still decide to deliver a little punishment. Are they going to do anything with that? Is that a sign of things to come? I doubt it, but it's just a nice touch for those of us that have been wanting a little bit more of an edgy Cody Rhodes. Even I think Michael Cole tried to drive that point home too, and have him, have them say that, for those that didn't think, and I didn't think Cody Rhodes could, pull out that side of him or whatever. And it's like, yeah, exactly, Mr. Everyman. It was a nice touch, I have to say. Is that going to make me a Cody Rhodes fan? Let's be serious. Is that going to make me a Cody Rhodes babyface fan, I should say? The answer is of course not. But it does at least give a little wrinkle to his character that I can appreciate. So I really enjoyed this, by the way. There was an FU thrown out. I know that it was bleeped out on Peacock on the replay. I didn't watch the show live like many people didn't. At least if you were in, outside of Scotland or the UK, you didn't. But the FU was I don't know if it was silenced out, and he just said no, right? But it was well done. The chair shots that Cody hit AJ with, the handcuffs are always a nice touch. Anytime you see handcuffs, it's always going to be, fun because some brutality is coming. So I think that it was a good match for both men. Didn't hurt either man. And now, just like the previous two matches I've talked about, there's a reset here. After the match, we did see kind of where things are going for Cody, because the bloodline, the new bloodline, however they're being repackaged, Solo and his goons, Tamatanga and Tangaloa, all three of them attacked Cody. Now, to his rescue, KO and Randy Orton came. But is this six-man tag team match could be something that happens at the Money in the Bank, could be something that happens on SmackDown. I would argue SmackDown so that these men can be involved in other things at the PLE. But it looks like Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes is the next step here. And that looks to be happening at Money in the Bank, I would imagine. Which then, as you project out, you're thinking, wait, okay, so Solo's in a title match. Could this mean that the return of Roman Reigns is going to happen at Money in the Bank, or could happen directly after, or whatever? The answer is probably yes. I think we are getting very close to a Roman Reigns return. Very. So I think any time between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam is the time frame for a Roman Reigns return, along with possibly The Rock, who has said, by the way, his elbow's better, so that's a good thing. But things have now shifted, and I know I said this a few weeks ago, but this really feels real now. The WrestleMania hangover and WrestleMania matches and WrestleMania kind of storylines have concluded, right? Jade and Bianca are no longer champions. It seems like Sami Zayn's moving on past Chad Gable now. We've got Cody Rhodes moving past AJ Styles. We've got Damian Priest, or rather Drew and Damian, moving on from one another, and it's going to be Drew Punk one-on-one finally. So it seems like everything at WrestleMania that had kind of occurred and you were looking for to wrap up. I know Punk and Drew just started at Mania, but a lot of them were kind of hangovers. We are finally out of it. So like when it comes to the first couple PLEs after WrestleMania, they're really generally the most boring when it comes to outcomes, because all the things that happen at WrestleMania, they're not going to instantly reverse. They're going to try to do everything they can to cement the things that they decided to do at WrestleMania. It's more about how good of matches they're going to be, So anyway, I both men credit, this was as good of a match as you could have expected from these two. Great way to open the show. Crowd was super hot and brutal. So I enjoyed the heck out of this one. Overall, again, I thought it was weird from kind of going back to where I started at the beginning of the show. It was weird. It was a weird PLE. One that didn't see a lot of payoffs. One that had some questionable booking decisions. And I think one that's, as Michael Cole said at the end of the show, does really make Monday Night Raw must-see TV. It does, from a few perspectives. So, again, I'm not getting paid to say that, to have you watch Raw, but from just being a wrestling fan to a wrestling fan, Monday Night Raw should have a lot of interesting moments with heels being pissed off. And I can't wait to see what they do. So, yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for me, guys. Again, if you want to follow us on X, you can do that at WWE Podcast. You can also get everything ad-free at WWE Podcast on Patreon. So patreon.com/WWE Podcast, or you can go to Apple Podcasts and get everything ad-free there too. Both of those offer 7-day free trials. Both of them relatively inexpensive if you want to get in the door and get everything ad-free. And it eliminates, if you're not on Patreon, you haven't heard any ads throughout the show, but if you're not, you've heard ads about every 8 to 10 minutes and you're like, oh my God, another one? You can get rid of those. Easy to do. Patreon or Apple Podcasts, both are offering subscription, and 7-day free trials. So, all right, guys, that'll do it for me. Tomorrow is a nostalgia, so I'll be reposting a nostalgia show I've done from the years past, and that's always a fun thing to do, to go back and listen, I think. Maybe some during the pandemic era. It's always a fun time to revisit that lovely era. But, hey, we'll repost something fun, and then Tuesday will be in my Monday Night Raw review, and then Friday will be the mailbag. Yes, I've kind of officially moved it to Friday. The After Dark show is usually Wednesday or so from Anthony DeMarco. That is exclusive to those of you on Patreon. Now, I know that I did get, an email from a couple people. All right. And I want to just apologize to Sharon. Okay. Because Sharon, I forgot to read your email. I apologize. All right. And it's because I have the thing is, for my mailbag, I have like 3 different places that people could send me stuff. So I forgot the one place. That's all it was. So Sharon, I do see your email. Right? I do see your email, and you did mention in your email that you're writing from the hospital while your son's getting treatment from something little in the finger. Hopefully it's nothing serious. So, hey, I hope everything's well with your son. I know it's never fun to be at the hospital for any reason for your kid or for yourself. So, I hope all is well on that front. But your predictions with you said Jade and Bianca is going to win. I thought so too. You had, let's see, Jack. Let's see, what would you say that Piper? Oh, Piper will lose. Yeah, you're right there. Gable will win. Sammy. I'll be so happy. Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm sure you're not happy about that outcome with Sami Zayn retaining. Drew's going to lose, so you're right there. So, yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, don't forget, Gunther is being shifted, as I just thought about this, and thank you for Sharon reminding me of this. Excuse me. Gunther is now looking to target Damian. So now we have Gunther Damian, and we have Punk Drew. So that seems to be maybe where we're headed for the next several weeks, heading into Money in the Bank, and of course SummerSlam, which is where Gunther gets his opportunity at the belt. So anyway, hope all is well. Hope your son feels better, and that nothing too serious there. But all right, and the only other thing I had, and this isn't a mailbag, but I want to get to it. It's very, very brief. Is just shout out to Shahar, who sent me a picture, and she's at watching Clash of the Castle at a bar in Haifa, Israel. Okay, so people are, where's Haifa? Israel. So, hey, Sharon, and Shahar, both of you, are in a bar in Haifa, that's awesome. So I don't. Both of you have met up. I hope you're not sitting there having some drinks and talking trash about the show. Right? Maybe you're both sitting there going, "Oh, it's such a great, WWE podcast is such a great podcast, isn't it?" I'm sure you have nothing negative to say about our show, right? Hey, but I'm not saying I should be the topic of conversation at a bar. I wouldn't expect to be. But that's really cool that both you and Sharon are at a bar in Haifa watching Clash at the Castle. That is really cool. I think that's really. I'm glad you guys were able to meet up because it's just so crazy that both of you are in a place in Israel that I never thought even had any listeners. We're able to meet up and that's pretty cool and really enjoy something together like wrestling. So very good, very good. I'm glad I can bring people together over our love of professional wrestling. So, all right, that'll do it for me. As I said, guys, lots of content coming this week, and we're getting deeper into the summer here, and all eyes will be on SummerSlam soon. But first, it's Money in the Bank, and that's what we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. That'll do it for me, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.